our ancestors actually had a lot of wisdom that we've lost sight of in recent years. There is this trend to think that the way we do things these days is the superior way of doing things. And I'm not saying that they got everything right. Bloodletting turned out to not be such a great idea, um, and witch trials and all kinds of different things that they got wrong. Um, but they got a lot of things right. And I feel like we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. And I think the way we interpret our lives these days and the things that happen to us and our internal stories, everything just seems so hyper intellectualized, pathologized, diagnosed. It's all a very uh, masculine energy, a very masculine way of doing things. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with masculinity. That's a beautiful thing. We need that diagnostic, analytical um, presence in our lives, and yet it has to be balanced out. That's the problem that I'm seeing. It's not being balanced out with a more feminine way of interpreting things, a more intuitive way, storytelling, feeling. Um, and I think in some ways, doing things in that feminine way, it creates more of a sense of meaning and community and connection. And I've had this idea for a while, and I know I'm not the first person to come up with this. I've heard other people talk about it. I've heard Richard Grennan talk about it. If you know who he is, it's pretty good. I like his channel. Um, he's taught me a lot. And I heard him mention this once, that he thinks that ancient people came up with the idea of vampires as the God, this camera is really, I just noticed it's really wonky. Came up with the idea of vampires as a way of explaining the phenomenon of narcissism, a way of explaining those people in your life that seem to come in and drain the life out of you. Oh God, it's really slipping. They come in, they drain the life out of us. I think it's good. Um, they can be so charming, and yet anyone that seems to spend a significant amount of time with them seems to lose their life force over that time. They become a shell of themselves, and they themselves become vampiric. So, I have notes. I know I'm getting so organized on this channel. Wow. Also, thank you to whoever suggested that I use a microphone. Yes. Not one, but two. I don't do things by halves. Right. So I've got some notes here. By the way, this journal, so beautiful. Can I just, it's so nice. It's got all these little pages. It's so nice to write in. I've got these up on my shop. I'll put the link in the description. But they're, honestly, there's just something about a leather bound journal. I know that's going to upset some people and they'll want a vegan version. There's no vegan version. Okay. Also, fake leather is really bad for the environment. It just turns into microplastics. So this whole thing will just decompose in the environment and it's completely fine. Right. Anyway, if you want one of these, there's also a plain version. It's got flowers all over it. There's a plain version as well, in case you don't like flowers all over everything like I do. So my notes here. So we've got the different stages that a vampire goes through when they come into your life. So vampires, the seduction phase. Vampires use charm, glamour, and manipulation. Um, And from a psychology perspective, you look at narcissists and you think, yeah, they're really charming. Not everyone that's charming is a narcissist, but narcissists are very charming. They're very alluring, magnetic. They're often very funny. They're very entertaining. They know how to hold the attention of an entire room. And so I think that's an interesting parallel between the two. And they lure you in with love bombing. So they meet you and they very quickly, they're very adept at working out what it is you're looking for, what your values are, what your interests are, what you like essentially, and they mirror that back to you as a way of building rapport and building trust with you. So you feel like, oh, we're similar, birds of a feather type of thing. And once they've lured you in, and it's been a few months or so, 3 to 6 months, then there's the bite. And like with a vampire, in a lot of vampire myths, a vampire bite feels exhilarating, it feels intoxicating. And yet at the same time, it drains the life out of you, it drains your life force. You start to feel very tired, confused. That's a big signal. You feel very confused all the time. And that stage, the bite stage, it's not about a physical bite, although maybe some of them are into that. I don't know. I'm not here to kink shame anyone. The bite phase is when they start to pepper in some of their abuse, some of the ways in which they will withdraw negative energy from you. So in the beginning, it's all sort of positive, and you're bouncing off each other with this positive attention all the time. They're reflecting back what you want to see, how you want to feel. They give you everything you want to lure you in. That's the love bombing. That's the seduction. In the bite phase, you've maybe started to cool off a bit, and you sort of think, okay, look, we're getting a bit wrapped up in each other, and you think, oh, I've got to focus on this project at work. Oh gosh, I've got to catch up with my other friends. I haven't seen them for ages. That's when the bite phase starts. So when they see that, oh, your attention is starting to go elsewhere in a perfectly healthy way, your entire life should not revolve around one person, okay? But they see that your attention, or this love bombing, is no longer working to maintain all of your attention all the time. So they will kick up into the bite phase. And this is where they can use guilt tripping. Oh, you don't care about me that much. Oh, you think I'm not good enough, all that sort of thing. They can use guilt tripping. They could, that's more like a passive type of person will do that. They'll play the victim to get your attention back onto them. If that doesn't work, they could go down the more aggressive path, where you want to go out. This happened to me once with a boyfriend. I was going to go out. I did go out for coffee with my sister, and he punched a hole in the wall because I was going out for coffee with my sister, and he wanted to come with us to literally supervise. I hadn't seen her for like 2 or 3 months, and he wanted to supervise. And I said, we're just going out for a coffee. I don't need you to be there. I just want to spend time with my sister. And he said, well, it's not that I don't trust you. I don't trust the other men that might be there. I'm like, we're just going to a cafe. It's not that dangerous. And he punched a hole in the wall. Yeah, to try and intimidate me into submission. So that's the bite phase. And during the bite phase, again, like I said, it is intoxicating in a way. Now, that sounds completely mental. If you think, how can someone punching a wall be intoxicating? Let me tell you. Let me tell you how. As far as I'm aware, it activates the same parts of the brain that a gambling addiction will activate. When you are with someone who's narcissistic, an energy vampire, if you like, they they go hot and cold, in the sense that you never know what you're going to get. So just like playing a slot machine, playing the pokies or something, you never know when you're going to get a win. It's like bad, 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 good, jackpot. And it sort of hijacks, I think it's the dopamine reward system. You become addicted to the high and the rush of the reward. The times when you have a good day, you have a bad day, bad day, bad day, bad day, gaslighting, pulling you down, making nasty comments. And then you sort of start to withdraw, maybe slightly. You start to pull back a little bit and you think, is this what I want? This really doesn't feel good. I'm very stressed all the time. So you start to pull back energetically, just a tiny bit. And just as they are very sensitive in the beginning to what you're looking for and they mirror that back to you, they're also very sensitive to energetic withdrawal because they're energy vampires, narcissists, whatever you want to call them. They're very sensitive to that energy being withdrawn, where you stop focusing on them and you start focusing on your own feelings and thinking, this feels like absolute garbage and I hate this. You start to withdraw. Instantaneously, the love bombing turns back up again. They're taking you out for dinner. They're holding your hand. They're doing this and that, praising you, noticing all these little things about you that they know you like to be admired for. And they might even apologize at this stage. If they think that they're going to lose you, they're going to lose access to you, they might actually apologize. But you will know that it's not a real apology because a week later they're going to do the same thing again, right? It's not a real apology. It's manipulation tactic just to keep you around. That's what it is. So again, still in the bite phase, it's one of the most important things to know about these kinds of people is that any energy, any attention is good attention. So whether you are praising them, admiring them, telling them, oh, you've done such a great job, wow, or if you are getting into an argument with them, because if they're not getting praise and admiration, they will likely try to wind you up to get an argument, because that's still attention. All they want is just to have that be the sole focus of your attention at all times. Whether they're getting praise or they're getting into an argument with you, that's what they need. So when you start to withdraw, they're going to start scrambling. You'll see them. If you can just, again, this helps with meditation. You're able to just sit back, sort of detach emotionally and just observe what's going on, observe what they're doing. You'll start to see them scramble. This is slipping again. There we go. You'll start to see them scrambling just to get the focus back on them. They'll switch from one thing to another. They'll switch to, praising you, telling you something they did that they want praise for, insulting you, criticizing your friendships, insinuating that, oh, that person doesn't really care about you or something. Anything. They'll start scrambling, just anything. Why can I not get this to sit straight? Anything to get their attention, your attention back on them, right? So any attention is good attention. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. You can sit there and, oh, this is the other thing that I think this happens a lot more commonly than is talked about. So a quick little detour here. And I think this is more common for those of us who've grown up. Hang on, let me pause this. The neighbor's dog is having a bit of a bark. Oh no, she's okay. I think this is more common for those of us who grew up within narcissistic family dynamics. It is slipping, isn't it? What the hell's wrong with it? More common with those of us who grew up within narcissistic family dynamics. We are trained from a very young age to hyper focus on the vampire, the narcissist, to overly empathize with how they must be feeling. So if they've insulted you, been gaslighting you, emotionally abusing you, could be physically, could be any other type of abuse. Um, and if you bring that up to them, you bring that to their attention and you say, hey, I don't like being treated like this, please stop. In a childlike way, in the childlike way that we try to express these things when we're kids, you will be accused of being selfish, being self-absorbed, being judgmental. That's a good one. That is a favorite one, actually. When you bring their own behavior to their attention, you highlight the simple fact of the thing that they did, and they will turn it back on you and say that you're unforgiving, you're judgmental. And so what you learn is it's unethical to point out reality. That's what you get taught in these family systems. Yay! And so when you grow up like that and you get into relationships that end up mirroring that, why does this keep falling down? Actually, you know what? You should see my setup. There's no mystery about why this is falling down. I'm going to try and get a better stand, right? One thing at a time, okay? Look, I'm not a professional. So when you get into relationships, you tend to get into relationships that mirror what you experienced as a child. Everyone knows this. It's common knowledge. What is not so often talked about is the way we end up hyperfixating on the other person's experience, the vampire's experience. We sit there and we try to diagnose them because they won't go to therapy, even if you're saying, hey, this is a conversation I had with an ex of mine. Let's go to therapy together. I know I have things I can work on. I know I could learn to communicate better. Let's go to therapy together. And no, absolutely point blank would not go. I could go to therapy, and he was really encouraging me to go to therapy. Not in such a caring way, more of a there's something wrong with you way, because I don't like being snapped at every 6 hours. And I said, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I love the idea of therapy. I love that you're so pro therapy. I would love it if we go together, because I'm not the only one that has things they could work on. All of a sudden, he was not pro therapy anymore. That was a very interesting switch up. They won't go to therapy, and so because of that, you'll take it upon yourself to try and diagnose them yourself. And you'll sit there wondering, like, what is wrong? Is it me? Am I stupid? Are they a narcissist? Are they a psychopath? Is it just borderline personality disorder? Do I just need to love them through this and help them with their trauma? That, again, is just energy that is leaking out of you and into them. Why? Stop it. You're draining the life out of yourself. And when you start thinking about it as, like, literally visualize it as your life force every single time, draining your life force, sending it to them, and they're just sort of pissing it away, basically. Let's be real. And then they come back for more. When you start visualizing these relationships as though you are literally with a vampire, it starts to become a lot easier to know what to do. And I'm not talking about staking people. Please don't do that. Quick disclaimer. I know you shouldn't have to say these things, but this is 2025 on the internet. Please don't stake anyone or behead anyone or set anyone on fire. All right, disclaimer finished. The curse of the vampire. This is where it gets interesting. Victims risk becoming vampires themselves, spreading the curse. So, from a modern perspective, what we see is victims of narcissistic abuse often will develop those very same patterns, not because they're genuinely narcissistic, but just as a survival mechanism. You can actually become vampiric yourself. And there were a few years in my life, in my 20s, where I was like that, where I was just emotionally dumping on anyone that would listen to me because I was so traumatized and so confused about everything. Like, I didn't trust my own ability to perceive reality because that's how I grew up, and then immediately got into a relationship with someone who just reflected the same dynamic. It was not a good time. At the same time, when we have to be aware of these things, because realistically, we can end up becoming vampiric ourselves. Again, not from a narcissistic point of view, but we learn these habits as a way of adapting to the unhealthy environment that we're in. So this is why I say you can't help these people. Right? They gotta help themselves if they want to. A lot of them don't want to. They like the way that they are, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I have this is one of the main things that has shifted my perspective on narcissism, is from actually listening to diagnosed narcissists on YouTube talking about their experiences, talking about what it's like. And look, I have absolutely no issues with people who are diagnosed and they're working through it and they're working on their self-awareness and that kind of thing. Like, guys, honestly, much respect, much respect. But they talk about how they know what they're doing to you. They know the ways that they're manipulating you. They're absolutely aware. So don't trick yourself into thinking, oh, he just didn't realize what he was doing. Oh, she just doesn't realize that she's stressing me out. No, they know. They do. You communicate to someone, hey, this thing that you're doing, I know you're not doing it on purpose. Always give people the benefit of the doubt first couple times. Let's say first time, second time, third time's a massive red flag. You communicate that to someone, say, hey, this thing you're doing really stresses me out. I know it's not on purpose, but like, could we just talk about it and, work something out? If they explode, if they get offended, if they start acting like a victim, and you just cannot have this conversation with them, you're just being so calm, reasonable, you can't have the conversation, fuck out of there, okay? Self-preservation. They know what they're doing. They keep doing something. You've communicated, this really hurts me, this really stresses me out. And they, not only do they not stop, but they double down on it. There's a reason for that. They're getting something out of it. Confusion creates power in their world. They gain power through confusion. When you are confused and stressed, you are easy to control, to dominate, to manipulate. And then they get what they want from you. So, I don't know what these sleeves are doing. Right. So the curse, yes. Oh, we did that part. Protection. Again, please don't stake anyone. Protection in the myth of vampires. Usually it's garlic and holy water, and the threshold of your home. So boundaries are your garlic. Knowing yourself well enough that you know what your boundaries are. You know what you're comfortable with. I mean, ask yourself, like, don't just listen to this video and think, yeah, great idea. Literally write it down. Buy my book. No, I'm just kidding. Just write it down. Write down what your boundaries are. How do you want to be spoken to? What are you comfortable with? When you get snapped at, when someone snaps at you for really no reason, Like this is an issue that you've never talked with them about before. They've never brought it up before. Their first port of call is to go off at you. How does that feel in your body? Is it jarring? Does it make you feel loved and cared for? No, I don't. Well, I guess to each their own. But have a think. How does it make you feel? Don't think about why they did it. Oh, their past trauma makes them feel this way. Stop. Stop it. Stop overly identifying with them. Ground yourself in what you are feeling. So, garlic. Get some garlic in you. Boundaries are your garlic. Discernment is your holy water. Again, as kids, if you grew up in one of these environments, you were taught that your discernment is being judgmental. Think about that. Really, like, honestly, today take some time to think about that and the impact that's had on your life and your ability to trust yourself. And the other form of protection is the threshold. Now, the threshold of your home, in reality, that's allowing these people access to you. Now, there are some of you, you've got kids with someone like this. You have to see them more or less. And it's strange. Let's see if that worked. My storage ran out and I had to delete some old videos, do an iPhone backup. I don't really know what else you're supposed to do. Let's hope this works. What was I talking about? Well, some of you have got kids with people like this. That makes it a lot more difficult. But when you understand it's the energetic exchange that they need from you to keep feeding, and with the practice of meditation and mindfulness on a daily basis, if not multiple times a day, you do not have to sit cross-legged like this. Okay, it's just taking even 5 or 10 seconds to just close your eyes, ground yourself, and center yourself in awareness of what's happening. So if someone's like going off at you, in time, with practice, you'll be able to just, without even closing your eyes necessarily, maybe you want to close your eyes, whatever you like, whatever works for you, babe. But you're able to disengage from what they're doing, from what they're trying to get out of you, and you're able to just step back, emotionally disengage, recognize what they're doing, and just find a very neutral way of removing yourself from the situation. So even though in some of your cases, I get it, I empathize, you're not always able to completely get rid of these people out of your lives. You can minimize their access to you. And that's the threshold. Vampires can't come into your home uninvited. And you can rescind your invitation after it's been given. So threshold is like your life. It's your emotional world. And this is something that I like about castle theory is you think about if your life is a castle, your life is like Marcus Aurelius called it, the inner citadel. He never went into that much detail about it, but I've sort of, ever since I heard him mention that, I make it sound like me and Marcus were like great buddies back in college or something. I mean, when I was reading his work and read about the inner citadel, I've kept thinking about it. That was about 10 years ago when I first came across that. I had bought this little book of philosophy. What's it called? Is it Philosophy for Life? And other dangerous ideas, other dangerous stories, something like that. I had bought that book. I was 24, 25 maybe. And then I went to Rome for a week by myself. I was living up near Edinburgh at the time. I went to Rome in the middle of summer by myself for a week. It was quite fun. It was interesting. I saw fireflies. They're amazing little things. Anyway, I read this book and I thought, wow, this is fascinating. When I got to the Stoicism chapter, that really really hit home for me. I thought, whoa, this is what I need. I was dealing with really severe symptoms of complex PTSD, and alcoholism and all kinds of other things, chronic panic attacks and migraines, and not good. I was not having a good time. Um, and that chapter on stoicism just made me feel so grounded as a person. It gave me this raw, almost sort of animalistic confidence in myself. Strange, but that's just how it felt. And so when he talked about the inner citadel of your mind, I kept thinking about that, and I kept developing that idea into something more complex than what he described. And you can think about it as your life is this citadel, and there's a treasury. That's your finances, that's your career, whatever it is, investments, whatever it is you're doing, just trying to scrape by for a lot of us. Still, there's the treasury, there's the garden. The garden could be, your hobbies and interests, for example. You go out there, you tend the garden, you nurture the garden, you spend time in the garden, and it's very grounding, it's very relaxing, right? I love having a way of visualizing this stuff. I find it really helps. And when you think about inviting a new person into your life, someone comes knocking at the gate of the castle, knock, knock, knock. Do you just let them straight into the treasury? No, that would seem silly. Do you let them straight into the great hall, into the queen's chamber, into the king's chamber? I hope not. It's not about purity culture, okay? It's just about understanding that these are slightly more vulnerable places within the castle, and we don't just let strangers into those vulnerable, sensitive places where a lot of damage could be caused, potentially, if this stranger turns out to not be a real friend. But we can invite them. They can have a tourist visa. If someone wants to spend time with you, okay, you're on a tourist visa. You don't let them into the really private areas, physically, mentally, emotionally. You don't let them into those areas straight away. You let them into the garden. They can walk around the garden, right? You can tell them about your hobbies and interests. How do they treat the garden? Are they respectful? Do they criticize the roses? Do they compare your roses to their roses? Oh, the roses I've got back home are so much better. They can't be trusted in the garden. Their tourist visa expires and they don't get to apply for residency. That's how I see it. The tourist visa can go for as long as you like. It could be 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever you're comfortable with. But honestly, a minimum of 3 months. You need time to get to know people, to really see their real intentions. But show them around the garden. Invite them into the garden. Take them to the theater. You can do entertaining things together. You can go ice skating. You can go on hikes in the forest. You can go on picnics. And just keep it a little bit more surface level at first. If they seem like they're wanting to connect with you at a deeper level a bit too quickly, it might be that they're just, like a lot of us are, really craving a depth of connection that we're sometimes missing in our lives. That could be it. It could also be that they're wanting to know all your deepest, darkest desires and thoughts because they're going to use those things against you. It's a bit of a mixed bag, unfortunately. But if they're wanting to go those places a bit too quickly while they're still on the tourist visa, which you don't tell them about, by the way, hush, hush. You don't tell them they're on a tourist visa. All right, keep that little air of mystery about you. Keep that shit locked up, okay? If they're wanting to go to that depth with you, just because you don't want to, might feel rejected or something if you like this person, you can just say to them, I really appreciate that you're wanting to know those things about me. It makes me feel really seen and like you really want to get to know me, and I love that. That's a really nice feeling. At the same time, I'm not quite ready to go there with you just yet. I prefer it if we just keep things a bit more, um, if we just get to know each other for a bit longer before we start opening up about those things. And that way you're communicating clearly, like, hey, I'm interested in you and I would like to get to know you in that way. I just need a bit more time. Don't tell them how much time. Don't tell them you've got 3 weeks left on your tourist visa. Keep it mysterious. Just a bit more time. That could be a week, it could be 3 months. I don't know. It gives you time to feel things out. Okay? Because your castle, your inner citadel, should be the most important thing to you. Number one. And whoever else is in that castle already. The residents, your friends, your family that you still speak to, your kids, your pets, your hobbies. That's your castle. These are the ones that you focus on. Newcomers, yeah, maybe. But we go see how they go. See how well behaved they can be on that tourist visa.